If you want to create a great public speech, then you need to nail the opening. The opening will cause your audience either to listen in and want to hear more of what you have to say, or to instantly grab to their pocket and pull out their iPhone or their Android device and start using Google or Facebook or social media. Okay, your opening is so important, and you want to create an opening that shocks the audience, that grabs their attention, and that's memorable once they leave the presentation. Okay, so today I've got 4 tips on how to create a memorable speech opening. Hi, I'm Ryan McLean, and I'm from PublicSpeakingPower.com, where we teach people like you how to become powerful and effective public speakers. Creating a great speech opening isn't easy. And the way that we feel to naturally start our speech is never usually the best way to start our presentation. Often we're taught in school, you start your presentation by telling people exactly what you're going to tell them about, and then you go and tell them. So you say, well, today I'm going to talk to you about blah, 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 and this is why you should listen to me. But that is boring. So we want to create a speech opening that is more memorable, that is more exciting, and something that will cause your audience to listen in. So here are my 4 tips. Tip number 1 is to use the art of misdirection. The art of misdirection is when we lead people along a path and then we suddenly abrupt that path with something that was unexpected. The reason that this works successfully is because it piques the audience's curiosity as to why you changed the direction that the speech was going in. If we want to talk about the greatest speakers of all time, we can look at people like Martin Luther King Jr., Winston Churchill, or Nelson Mandela, or Kermit the Frog. Kermit the Frog? What do you mean, Kermit the Frog? How is Kermit the Frog one of the greatest public speakers of all time? Exactly. By using the art of misdirection and by going down a path of talking about great public speakers, yeah, Martin Luther King Jr., yeah, Winston Churchill, yeah, Nelson Mandela. Huh? Kermit the Frog? Why are you talking about Kermit the Frog? And that piques people's curiosity, it piques their interest and gets them to listen more about what you have to say because they had never thought about Kermit the Frog as being a great public speaker. Tip number 2 is to tell people something they didn't know but thought they did. So here's something for you. Did you know that when Christopher Columbus discovered America, the people at that time actually knew the world was round? So the story goes that everyone thought that the world was flat, but Christopher Columbus knew the truth that the world was round, and he sailed on the other side of the world and found America. Well, the truth of the matter is that people at that time, it was a commonly held belief that the world was round. And when Christopher Columbus was arguing with the Queen of Spain, they were actually arguing on the size of the earth. So Christopher Columbus thought the earth was a lot smaller than it actually is, which is why he thought that by going in the opposite direction, he could find a shorter trade route to China. Obviously, he didn't find China, he bumped into America, and the story goes on from there. But something that we believe to be true, which is everyone at that time thought the world was flat, by revealing to you that people actually didn't believe that the world was flat, well, that piques your interest because you want to correct your beliefs and you want to understand the other side of the story. So that's tip number 2, is to tell people something that they didn't know but they thought they did. Tip number 3 is to look at something in a more interesting way, or to come at something from a different angle. Jerry Seinfeld made public speaking as the number 1 fear a very common fact, or fact that people thought was a fact. And he did this by looking at it in a different way. If he was to come out and say public speaking is the number 1 fear, well, no one would really remember that, and they would probably argue with you whether or not it would be the number 1 fear. But by saying public speaking is the number 1 fear, so when you're at a funeral, more people would prefer to be in the coffin than they would to give the eulogy. So by creating this funny context and something that you wouldn't usually think of, by coming at the topic from an interesting angle, he made public speaking as the number 1 fear very memorable. So try and think of ways that you can come at something from a different angle that may be a little bit unexpected. And tip number 4 is to use stories which people can put themselves in. So Jesus Christ did this really well. Whether you believe Jesus was the Son of God or not doesn't matter, but he used stories very effectively to get his point across. Jesus spoke about things that were relevant to the people at that time. So he spoke about shepherds, he spoke about kings, he spoke about taxes, he spoke about working the land, or all of these different things that people could relate to at the time. He told stories where people could put themselves in their situation and understand the story better, and therefore they could understand the message that he was trying to deliver better. When Jesus tells the story of the shepherd who had 100 sheep and he lost one, the people at that time can imagine what it would be like to lose one of your 100 sheep. And he then goes on to tell the story about the shepherd left the 99 to go out and find the one, and that's how important God thinks you are. And so by using these stories that are relatable to the people in your audience, you can then tie in your core message into this story, and you've then got this story that people can remember. I go to church, so I've been to a lot of church sermons over my time, and it becomes very hard to remember anything that the speakers preach about. But what I always seem to take away is their story. Recently we had a pastor come and speak to us, and I remember clearly how he spoke about his daughter who contracted cancer and eventually died from cancer. I don't remember a great deal of anything that he said apart from that and the points that he gave, but I do remember his story because it had emotion attached to it, and I, a father with a daughter, could put myself in his shoes and understand how traumatic that must have been. So stories are a very effective way to create a memorable speech, and also to pique people's curiosity so they listen in and they listen to the rest of your presentation. So there you have the 4 ways to create a memorable or shocking speech opening. I'm Ryan McLean, and if you want more videos, more podcasts, more articles just like this one, then head over to PublicSpeakingPower.com, and we release a new one every single day. So until tomorrow, I want you to go out there and I want you to be powerful, be strong, pretend you're a superhero, and be a great public speaker. I know you're going to nail it.